Hi guys, this is Coach Carter. Just want to make a new video, kind of going over a few main things I learned this year from being in the weight room. This was year 10 for me, training kids, working kids out, but this was a unique year because it was after the COVID pandemic. So this was the first full year we had these kids back in there every day, and there were just a few things that I picked up that I want to share with you guys. So my first main improvement was about halfway through the year. Instead of making groups of 3, which I normally did, I started making groups of 2. So one kid only had one partner to work with. So my old philosophy was to have a lifter, spotter, and supersetter. I eventually thought, hey, let's get rid of the supersetter and just go one-on-one pairs. So again, I saw a lot of benefits from this. You know, it was much easier for the kids to keep track of one partner as opposed to 2. You know, they knew exactly who they were going to lift with at the beginning of the period. Secondly, as a coach, I found that it was very easy for me to keep track of the pairs. You know, after a while, you'll start realizing who's supposed to work out together, and if someone was straggling or losing focus, I'd get him with his partner right away. So, you know, those are 2 huge benefits of one-on-one pairs. And then the third, you know, if somebody was absent, I would have them come up, and then I'd pair them with another kid who was absent. So that made it easy to kind of keep kids on track when their partner wasn't available. So long story short, 2 was a lot easier than 3 in regard to groups, especially organizationally. Side note, if you're not already grouping your kids up before they lift, that's something I highly, highly recommend to do. Letter B, the second biggest takeaway, this is actually the biggest takeaway from this last year for me in the weight room, was have the partners or the pairs do less spotting for each other and more supersetting. So segue, obviously, you cannot ever risk your kids getting hurt in the weight room. But I will tell you that when you're working with kids that have been lifting for months on years, they know how to do the lifts. They know how to manage their weight if they're not getting close to their maxes. So spotting doesn't really serve its purpose. You know, when you're doing 4x10 at 60%, kids don't need to spot if they're at that, you know, advanced level. So what I started doing is I started making the pairs superset 2 lifts at once. And guys, I can't emphasize enough how much that improved the workout session. Kids were working out faster. They were working out harder. They got more lifts done in the 40 minutes we're in the weight room. And obviously, as a strength coach, that's our number one goal, is that kids are working out harder, faster, thus to get stronger. So, for example, old me would have a spotter and lifter for bench with a group of 2. Now I have one kid do bench, one kid do rows, and then switch back and forth for 4 sets. And you may have been experimenting with this already, but I really went for it at the end of the semester, and I saw kids really getting sweaty, really working hard, harder than they were before when I had them supersetting. So that's definitely going to be a huge takeaway moving in next year, is not worrying about spotting on those hypertrophy, high rep days, low percentage lifts. We're supersetting, we're going as hard as we can for that 40 minutes. Now, obviously, if you're doing heavier weight, if you're getting closer to that max, you got to have them spot for at least bench and squat. That's just going to be a normal safety thing. If you have young kids that have never lifted, they should have a spotter. Obviously, the coach should always be monitoring, regardless if they're spotters or not. But I don't think the spots are necessary for your older kids on those lower percentage days. And I saw it firsthand that if you just tell them to superset 2 lifts at once, they will be really humming in that weight room, which is obviously our goal. A couple other notes that I picked up: just started cleaning, benching, squatting more. So instead of squatting once, you know, barbell squatting once a week, we started doing it 2 to 3 times, added in some front squats and dumbbells, you know, specifically for power clean. It's such a compound movement, complex movement, that if kids aren't doing it at least twice a week and a third time with a variation, they're just not going to get very good at it. At least that was my experience. So really make sure you're hammering those core lifts that you base your program around. You know, you want to get the auxiliary lifts in there, but it can't come at the expense of them not getting strong in squat or bench or clean or deadlift. So I would just recommend really hammering out those good lifts over and over and over again, and you'll see those numbers really skyrocket. And the last takeaway is we started throwing in some more explosive deadlift and squat variations. So again, deadlift is a great lift, big chest, you know, lower body, hamstrings, all that stuff. But moving slow with heavy weight a lot is just going to not help with athletic performance. So, you know, we started mixing in explosive deadlift where they shrug and get up on their toes at the top with lighter weight. explosive squat, moving those bars faster with lighter weight. Just found that, that's going to help with power output and translate more to sport. And again, as strength coaches, I think sometimes we get stuck on trying to just get the numbers high. We got to realize that we want to also have it translate to the field. And, a 600-pound squatter is great, but if he can't move and he's slow, he's not going to be a good athlete. So that's just another takeaway that I started mixing in, was those explosive movements. So again, there's 4 things that will hopefully make either your weight room better or you as an athlete stronger. And a lot of these specific lifting variations we're going to make videos on very, very soon. So best of luck.